I am Sawan Didi, serving in JIT Arts Science and Commerce College for Women, Malegaon district, Nasik. The today's topic that is agents of erosion. So first of all, we should know that what is erosion. The combined action of transportation and breaking down of rocks is known as erosion. So while introduction, river glaciers, wind and sea waves are the major agents of erosion and deposition on the surface of the earth. Mostly the river is the most important agent of erosion and deposition on the surface of the earth. Near about 75% of the earth's surface is sculptured by the rivers. The work of glaciers is limited to polar areas and snow covered mountainous areas. Wave action is found in the coastal areas of the world, while the work of wind is very powerful in arid and semi arid regions where loose material like sand, silt, and clay is easily picked up by the wind. Now, first agent of erosion, that is a work of the river. All we are knowing that the running water is the most important agent of erosion and deposition on the surface of the earth. As I stated that 75% of the earth's surface is sculptured by running water. A river is a mass of water moving under gravity downwards towards the mouth, which may open into a lake, sea, or ocean. It receives its water supply directly or indirectly from rainfall or other forms of precipitation like snow. Rivers usually originate from a spring, a marsh, a lake, from the end of the glacier, or from the collected surface runoff of rainwater. Usually, mountains receive more rainfall and hence a majority of the rivers originate in mountainous areas. The sheet of water flows down the slope in the form of rills, which after uniting others form streams. These streams are then joined by other streams and tributaries. A number of tributary streams develop to join the main streams at different points along its course. This main stream is known as a river, and this stream, together with its tributaries, constitutes a river system. So, as a volume of water, if we will discuss, that volume of water in the river depends on various factors like the amount of distribution of rainfall and snowfall, the permeability of rocks, the rate of evaporation, and the number of tributaries. If a river is fed by only melting snow, the volume of water is more in summer than in winter. If the river gets its water supply from the seasonal rainfall, it swells in the rainy season while it has a low water level during the dry season. In the monsoon countries of Asia, the rainfall mainly occurs in summer months from June to October. The volume of water in the rivers is greater in this period, while in the remaining months the rivers carry a very small quantity of water. Which are those rivers? The Godavari, Krishna, and other peninsular rivers of India are of this type. Equatorial areas receive a heavy rainfall, which is evenly distributed throughout the year. The equatorial rivers like the Zaire and the Amazon show very little fluctuations in the volume of their water and carry a large volume throughout the year. The river Nile carries water throughout the year only because it receives water from its tributary, the Blue Nile, that originates in equatorial areas and supply water to the Nile. When we'll discuss of the velocity of river, the velocity of the river depends partly on the slope and the nature of the channel and partly to the volume of water. Mainly in mountainous areas, the slopes of the channel is steep and hence the river flows with a greater velocity. On the other hand, when the river enters the plain areas, the slope of the channel decreases and as a result, the velocity of the river also decreases. The width of the valley also affects the velocity of a river. The river flowing through narrow gorge, like valleys, has a greater speed than a river flowing through a wide valley. The velocity of the river is directly proportional to its volume of water. Greater a volume, higher the velocity. That is why the velocity of a river is always greater during floods. The transporting power of a river largely depends upon its velocity. Greater the velocity, greater the transporting power. We'll come to the erosion of the various areas as the load of the river. The weathered rock material carried by water downstream is known as the load of a river. It includes boulders, pebbles, sand, silt, clay, and the material carried in solution. A river accumulates this load through the friction with its sides and beds, though its own erosive activity and through the glaciers and from its tributaries. This load is carried along its channel in different ways. Small particles are carried in suspension, larger particles are carried by hoops, while the boulders are moved by river during floods. So the load plays a very important role in the formation of rivers, valleys, as it is largely responsible for the vertical and lateral cutting. When the velocity of the river decreases, this load is sorted and is deposited on its bed or near its channel in its flood plains or deltas. So the features of river erosion, those are, before studying these features of river erosion and deposition, it is necessary to study the nature of river valleys. The development of these valleys is the combined effect of river erosion, transportation, and deposition. It is convenient to divide the river valleys into three sections. Which are those three sections? Number one, that is a upper course. Number second, that is a middle course, and number third, that is a lower course. On the upper course, what type of features are found? Those are a V-shaped valleys, a U-shaped valleys. Number two, that is a gorges. Number third, that is a potholes, and number fourth one, those are a waterfalls, yeah, rapids. It is also called as rapids. In the middle course, as the prominent features of the river which are middle course, those are as a alluvial fans, and in the lower course, the features which are associated to the lower course, those are an oxbow lake, floodplains, and deltas. Now we will come to the next agent of erosion, that is a work of sea waves. As the work of sea is threefold: erosion, transportation, and deposition. This work of the sea is carried out only in the coastal areas of the world. Sea water moves through waves, currents, and tides, but the movement carried out by waves is mainly responsible for marine erosion and deposition. The speed of the movement of waves is reduced near the shallow water of the coast. The crest steepens, curls, and the wave breaks. This mass of broken water flows towards the beach as a swash, and then it flows back along the beach slope as the backwash. The erosive power of the waves depends partly on the velocity of the winds, as waves derive their energy from them, and partly on the distance of open ocean over which they are blown. So the tide raise or lower the level of the seawater. The strong tidal currents are responsible for the scoring of estuaries and flushing their material out into the sea. So, as compared with tides, currents play an insignificant role in marine erosion and deposition, but they can carry large quantities of fine material over a long distance. So, the erosive actions of the sea waves, which are those? Number one is a hydraulic action, number two is a corrosion, number third that is a attrition, number fourth that is a solvent action. Features which are produced by the wave actions, those are: number one is a cliff and wave cut platform, number two those are caves, geo and blowholes, number third that is a arc and stack, which are seen in this diagram. So the depositional actions of the sea, those are the features which are produced, those are a beach and beach ridges, offshore bars, number third is a spit, number fourth is a cusped forelands, number five that is sand dunes, and number sixth that is a mud flat and salt marshes. Now the third agent of the work of wind, that is a about the third of the land surface of the earth is arid or semi-arid. The threefold work of the wind, erosion, transportation and deposition is confined to this region. First of all, we should know that what is desert. The deserts stretch from the tropical lands to the polar areas. The polar areas are known as the cold deserts. Usually the deserts have the following features. Number one, the deserts receives less than 25 centimeter of the rainfall annually, and many of them do not receive any rainfall at all, like the Atacama Desert. But the crucial factor determining the aridity of these regions is the high rate of evaporation, because of which these areas experience an acute shortage of water. Second, deserts have a partial or almost complete absence of vegetation cover. The vegetation cover that does exists in these regions is of highly specialized type, well adapted to the harsh and arid climate conditions. Number third, wind is an important agent of erosion, transportation and deposition in desert areas. Number fourth one, that is a animal life is also limited, and only those animals that are well adapted to dry condition can live in the deserts. Now wind erosion, actually wind has little effects on rocks. It is through the material carried down from one place to another, like sand, that the wind is able to erode rocks. This wind's erosion is carried out in three ways. Which are those three ways? Number one, that is a deflation. Number two, that is a abrasion. Number third, that is a attrition. Number fourth one, that is a wind transportation. As features which are associated with wind erosion, those are: number one is a blowout, second one that is a vent effects, yeah, decanters, number third that is a mushroom or pedestal rocks, fourth one that is a air dance, number fifth one those are erosion. So here we have discussed the three agents of the rivers, three agents of the erosion. Those are a work of the river, work of the sea waves, and number third one that is a work of the wind. So thank you very much.